welcome to a bit of a weird episode of the Kane Audio VLOG. It's a couple days before Christmas when I'm filming this, so I'm just trying to get stuff sorted because I'm having a week off. One of those things is the wheels of my car. So before I get started on audio studio stuff, I guess I should probably explain I'm a bit of a car enthusiast. I don't have a very fancy flash car necessarily, but it's one that I adore. It's only a Fiat, but it's a pretty rare one. It's a Bravo T-Jet Sport 150, which has been cherished, but unfortunately I had a buckle in one of my wheels, so I've had to get a full new set of wheels. So I'm just prepping these new ones before they go on, so they're nice and sealed, and they're looked after. So I'm currently paste waxing. Anyway, today, and on that note, actually, big thanks to mate mine Fergus, who hooked me up with these wheels, because they're rare as rocking horse shit these days. So yeah, cheers dude. So yeah, right, back onto audio stuff. I said the other day I was going to do a video on storage solutions, so I thought I'd do that now because it kind of doesn't really need to be screen capturing my computer and all of that. So yeah, I've had a few mates recently on Facebook who have lost their hard drive for whatever reason, yeah, it's I mean, it's a shit situation. Obviously we all keep all our project files, all our audio samples, you know, everything's on that, and if you lose that, you lose a lot. You know, you can you know, if I lost all mine, I'd lose a hell of a lot. You know, that's my career stored. So there's a few ways of kind of working around it and keeping things. Obviously, first things first, always back stuff up. You know, I mean, the number of times I tell people to back stuff up, and then they lose a hard drive and they're like, oh right, yeah, I should have backed up. And it's like, well, I warned you. So first things first, back the fuck up. If you've got a spare hard drive, just every now and then copy stuff over from your current hard drive to a spare one. Hard drives are pretty cheap. You know, I've just bought a 4 terabyte hard drive. It's a Seagate Barracuda, so it's you know, I've been using those for probably 15 years. They're reliable as anything. I just kind of stick with them because I've had them and they've not failed me this far. Yeah, and I paid, what was it, like 90 quid I think for 4 terabytes. I mean, you know, it's not going to break the bank. Yes, so anyone who's using a Mac, you know, you've got a function built into your Mac called Time Machine. Take advantage of it. What Time Machine does is every so often it just makes a copy of any changes that have been made to your computer. So that means, you know, if you work on say an Ableton project one day and it's all going well, and then maybe you open it the next day and you make some changes that you then think, oh shit, I didn't want to do that, and you've overwritten the original project file. It can sorry, this is really hard to paste wax and talk about something entirely different. Yeah, so with Time Machine, you know, it'll back that up, and then you can enter Time Machine the next day and go back to the original file before you last saved it or whatever. So that's great. You know, I've always done that. you know, I have a Mac Pro Tower computer in the studio, and Time Machine is on there permanently. It's got 4 drive bays in the computer, so I've got bay 1 is an SSD, 512 gig SSD, and that's kind of like my boot drive, and that runs all the applications and everything, so it's all pretty quick, and I've got a lot of audio on there as well. Second drive then is an extension of that SSD, I suppose. The third drive is another drive that is dedicated to Time Machine, so it's constantly backing up whatever's happening in drive 2. Drive 1 I'm not so fussed about, because it's applications, you can always re-download them or reinstall, whatever, you know. So I have Time Machine backing up, you know, in drive bay 3, backs up bay 2 constantly, you know, it runs every 15 minutes or so. So that's great, that's a brilliant start. But sometimes there are moments where Ableton in particular, I don't know about some of the others, but I know with Ableton I've had experience where I've opened up a project file, and because I'm obsessive about these things constantly, Apple S, every time I make a change, Apple S to save, and sometimes you might delete a channel or a track and then hit Apple S, and you're like, oh shit, I can't go back, and I really wanted that channel, and you might have even forgotten what synth you had in there in the first place. It's just a bit of a shit situation. Historically there was kind of no way around that. Once you'd hit save, that was it, that was your lot gone, unless by chance, you know, Apple Time Machine had just kicked in at that point, and then, you know, you might have got lucky and you might be able to go back, or you might be able to go back to the previous day's work if you'd left it for a day or whatever, so you might luck out. What I do is I use Dropbox for that, so where I've got Time Machine backing up all my audio samples, you know, all my documents, whatever, backs up the whole drive. I've also got I pay for the Dropbox Pro, which is like $10 a month, something like that, for like, I don't even know how much storage there is. There's a lot, and anything that is critical to my work, so the project files themselves, which contain any original recordings and whatever, they're all defaulted to save in my Dropbox folder. So as soon as I hit Apple S, I can see in the top of the screen that my my Dropbox is starting to run, and it'll update a new version online, which means I can then access that project file from wherever, someone else's computer, so long as they got access to the internet. It's stored locally on my hard drive and thrown out to the internet. That for me has been an absolute lifesaver, because when you accidentally hit Apple S on Ableton or whatever DAW you're using, you know, it saves a new version on Dropbox, and you can go back through historic versions on Dropbox. So if you make that mistake, you go, not a problem, jump on Dropbox, go back a version, download it, replace original, whatever, and there we go, you're back to square one again, you're back to exactly where you were. So yeah, I mean, that for me is the ultimate sort of setup as it is now. So I got 4 drive bays, one of which is just backing everything up. I've also got Dropbox, so every time I hit save, it'll automatically upload. Then the alternative to that is something I've been talking to a mate of mine about recently, which is having a NAS drive, which is a network something storage. I don't even know what it stands for, but basically network storage. So you've got a hard drive on Wi-Fi basically, and you can use that as your backup. So every time you hit save on something, it's saving to another hard drive somewhere else on storage. Now the beauty of that is that you can do it online, which means, like I say, I was talking to a mate of mine and we kind of agreed, well, let's both buy a NAS drive and swap. So every time I hit save, it'll upload through the wonders of the internet to the drive in his house, and when he hits save on something, it'll upload to the drive I've got here. That way, if for whatever reason there was a flood, a fire, theft, whatever, of hard drives, I know that I've got a backup of everything of mine the other end of the country, and he's got a backup of everything of his the other end of the country. And I think that sounds like a pretty good deal. If, like me, you've got a studio that's separate to your own house, you know, you can do the same again there. So I could stick a NAS drive in my house, and then a NAS drive here, and swap the backups basically. So it means that if one was to go missing for whatever reason, then I've got a backup in the other location. I think that's probably a bit extreme for a lot of the viewers here, but yeah, I think certainly, you know, the Apple Time Machine is a godsend. There's no disputing that. I don't know if there's a Windows equivalent. Probably is, but I haven't used Windows for a long time. But Dropbox for me, Google Drive is another one. In fact, Google Drive I think is free. I did use that for all of about a week. I decided when they launched it, well, I'll give it a go and try it instead of Dropbox. I didn't like the way it backed things up. You know, if I hit save on an app, this was the beta version though, so it could be great now, but that 1 week where I had it, it just put me off. I'd hit save on something and then it would either come up with a couple of errors, or it just wouldn't be uploading and it would do it like an hour later, or it wasn't working for me. It wasn't what I wanted. I needed everything to be trustworthy, and at the time it wasn't. So by all means look into it as a free option, because I think Google Drive give you, like, well, again, when they launched it was like 5 gig free, and let's be honest, as far as project files go, 5 gig's a lot of space. Yeah, unless you're recording everything in analog 32-bit floating point tracks, which I think is unlikely, then yeah, you could do well with Google Drive. Yeah, I think that's it for storage solutions. It's one of those things that, you know, a lot of people kind of worry about, and unfortunately they don't take action quick enough. So you know, it's a tricky one to do, but like I say, it's one of those things that people don't do enough of, and it's one of those things that is a hard lesson learned. I mentioned in another video that I lost a hard drive, luckily, in my very early days of being a producer, and that was a tough lesson then. If I lost a hard drive now, or lost all my hard drives now, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I've set up a solution that allows me to back everything up online, and over the network, so it means I can access it from other places. It's there in the cloud, which gives me that sort of peace of mind, really, that, you know, I should be alright, hopefully. Yeah, so I'm going to stop waffling now. I'm going to crack on with sealing these wheels, and I will hopefully see you guys the other side of Christmas. Don't know when this video is going to go up, but Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone, and yeah, have a good one. Cheers.